There's a moment in the book of Numbers where an animal sees something a grown man riding on its back completely misses and gets beaten 3 times for it. That story has been treated like a punchline for centuries, but it was never meant to be funny. It was a warning. And today, I want to show you something that most Christians have never actually connected to their own daily life. How we treat animals is not a side issue in Scripture. It's a mirror. It reveals things about our character that polite behavior around people can sometimes hide. So today we're going to talk about 7 dangerous things Christians should never do to animals, and why God took the time to address every single one of them directly. 1. Never strike an animal out of anger without asking why it's resisting you. I think about Balaam constantly when this subject comes up. He was riding his donkey down a road, furious when she suddenly stopped and refused to move. He didn't pause to consider why. He grabbed his stick and beat her, not once, but 3 separate times, for behavior that made no sense to him in the moment. What he didn't know was that his donkey was the only one on that road who could actually see the angel standing there, sword drawn, blocking their path. Numbers 22:28 says God then opened the donkey's mouth, and she asked Balaam a question that should stop every one of us in our tracks. What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? God cared enough about that injustice to give a voice to the one creature who had none. If he defended an animal being wrongfully struck, that should make us extremely slow to raise a hand in anger against one ourselves. 2. Never deny a working animal its rest or its share of the harvest. In an agricultural society, oxen worked constantly, walking in circles all day to thresh grain. And there was a real temptation to muzzle that ox while it worked, keeping it from eating even a mouthful of the very grain surrounding it. Deuteronomy 25:4 forbids this directly. You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. That's not a rule about farming efficiency. That's a rule protecting a working creature's basic dignity. And it should make us ask an uncomfortable question about our own lives. How often do we take everything something or someone can offer us while giving back as little as possible in return? 3. Never assume an animal's suffering is beneath your concern simply because it belongs to someone you dislike. Exodus 23:5 contains one of the most overlooked laws in the entire Old Testament. If you saw your enemy's donkey collapsed under a heavy load, you were required to stop and help it back up. Not your friend's animal, your enemy's. I have thought about that law for years because it quietly exposes something. Personal conflict was never allowed to become an excuse to walk past a suffering creature. If your compassion only shows up for animals belonging to people you already like, Scripture would say that's not really compassion at all. It's convenience wearing compassion's mask. 4. Never destroy a mother animal's bond with her young out of pure convenience. Deuteronomy 22:6-7 gives an oddly specific instruction. If someone found a bird's nest with a mother sitting over her chicks or eggs, they were forbidden from taking the mother along with the babies. They could take the young if needed, but the mother had to be released. I remember the first time I actually sat with that verse and realized what it was. Protecting. Not property. A bond. God drew a line around a mother's most basic instinct and told his people not to cross it, adding the phrase that it may be well with you, as if our own well-being is somehow tied to how we treat the smallest, most defenseless bonds around us. 5. Never take from someone who has almost nothing simply because it costs you less than using your own resources. This one comes from a parable, not a law, and it might be the sharpest example on this entire list. The prophet Nathan confronted King David after his affair with Bathsheba, not with a direct accusation, but with a story. A wealthy man with countless flocks, Nathan said, took the one and only lamb belonging to his poor neighbor, an animal the poor man had raised like a daughter, and slaughtered it to feed a guest purely because it was easier than touching his own abundant herds. David was furious at the injustice before he realized the story was actually about him. 2 Samuel 12:4 makes it clear that animal was never just property to David's rich man. It was a relationship, taken and destroyed for the sake of convenience. 6. Never offer God something that costs you nothing while treating your animals as disposable in the process. When David finally purchased a threshing floor to build an altar, the owner offered to give it to him for free, oxen included for the sacrifice. David refused, saying in 2 Samuel 24:24 that he would not offer God something that cost him nothing. That principle stretches further than we usually apply it. If our sacrifices, our offerings, our stewardship of the creatures under our care cost us absolutely nothing in time, effort, or genuine attention, we might want to ask whether we're actually honoring God with them or just going through empty motions. 7. Never forget that God's care extends further than we're comfortable admitting. At the very end of the book of Jonah, after Jonah sulks over God sparing the wicked city of Nineveh, God gives him a reason for his mercy that most people skip right past. Jonah 4:11 ends with God mentioning, almost as an afterthought, that the city also contained much livestock. Think about that. In God's closing argument for compassion, animals get named specifically. That's not a small detail. That's a window into how far God's care actually reaches, further than most of us have ever stopped to consider. None of this means animals are equal to people in the eyes of Scripture, but it does mean they were never meant to be invisible to us either. Proverbs 12:10 puts it plainly. The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but even the kindness of the wicked is cruel. That verse alone should stop us. How we treat something with no power to demand better treatment from us reveals something true about our hearts that nothing else can hide. If this opened your eyes to something you'd never truly considered before, that's exactly the point of this message today. Like this video if it challenged you, subscribe for more biblically grounded content like this every week, and comment below which one of these 7 convicted you the most.